Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel, We're the Movie Couple. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And here is our non-spoiler review for Death on the Nile. A picture-perfect couple's honeymoon vacation aboard a glamorous river steamer turns into a terrifying search for a murderer. This film is directed by Sir Kenneth Branagh, and it is another adaptation of one of the novels by Agatha Christie, just as the previous film that he directed, Murder on the Orient Express. And again, this has a huge cast.
Oh, yeah.
Star-studded. All beautiful looking people as well.
I have to
prerequisite.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you really mentioned, I'm like going back and going, there's a lot of really pretty people. And of course, you know, anytime that you add Gal Gadot into a cast, it just makes it exponentially more pretty.
I just don't know how she does it. She could be sleeping and it's like, what the? Is she even human? She is Wonder Woman. But in any case, I actually really enjoy sort of the whodunit type of films, you know.
Yeah.
Just kind of like how I enjoyed Murder on the Orient Express. But I find myself more invested in this one somehow. I felt like when I was watching Murder on the Orient Express, sometimes I felt disconnected somehow.
You know, you're right. I think something that this movie did actually very well was actually how much time in the beginning of the movie they actually used to develop the characters, develop the relationship, develop what was going on. And I loved how they actually were like, for the longest time, the murder doesn't actually happen until at least more than halfway through the movie. I mean, it's like an hour and a half before you find out who actually gets murdered.
And what's also cool with this film, and I don't believe, and please feel free to correct in the comments if this is not correct, but they use the beginning of the film to actually focus on the earlier years of Hercule Poirot.
Yes, I actually really liked that too. It gave us a little bit more of a character deep dive into him, about his feelings about love and his personal experiences. And of course, it's Kenneth Branagh. So you're always going to get a top-notch, amazing performance out of Kenneth Branagh.
And his mustache.
And his mustache. His mustache should be nominated for an Oscar as well. But I just loved how all the characters in this one just grabbed me a lot more than what they did on Murder on the Orient Express.
And I think you're right to the extent of that. It feels like in this one we got to spend a little bit more time with the characters in the very beginning. So not just seeing like the young detective, you know, what he was doing earlier. But really building the foundation of who's friends with who, what kind of motivation does the murderer have, potentially,
yes,
you know, to start the killing spree.
Building out all of those motivations beforehand, and then playing them all out. So when, like what you saw in the trailer, when he goes, "Are you accusing me of murder?" It's all right. He accuses everyone of murder.
Yes.
And he's like, "Yes, it is a personal flaw of mine."
Yes.
And I'm just like, there are some times that he pumps out that accent, and it is beautiful. But I'm like, wait, what did he say?
You were distracted by the movement of the mustache when he was speaking. But honestly, this film, I thought it was really, the backdrop obviously was Egypt because they were vacationing in Egypt. Everything was really, really beautiful, not to mention the beautiful people in front of the camera, you know, really captivated. This is very glamorous. So when the murder starts to happen, it really switches the tone, obviously, and they're on, a river steamer. So there's a steamer. So there is nowhere for them to go, yet things continue to escalate.
I do have to admit, honestly, that's one thing that I want to debate about you a little bit, because I thought that even though, they used brilliant colors, it was a little too saturated, I feel like. Like, you can really tell that it was really done a lot on green screen. When they did a lot of the big backgrounds, you can tell that everything in the foreground was practical. Everything behind them was a green screen. But they did it in such a way to where it was so saturated, they were definitely trying to go for like almost that painted
the vintage
kind of look.
Type of, and that's what I noticed too, because at one point, I don't want to say which character appears, but there's a couple of shots that you will notice that you're like, okay, that's either, you know, like CGI'd in, or that's blue or green screen. However, it was consistent throughout the film, like the oversaturation. It wasn't just like this one scene that was like, this was turned up really bright or the contrast was really high. It was kind of throughout the film, and it wasn't so distracting that you're like, my eyes. It's just that a couple of scenes here and there you kind of noticed it, but then
it did pull me out of it a little bit.
But then again,
once you get used to that, okay, this is the style that they're going for, then you're kind of like, okay, you just go with the flow.
I really was super invested by the time the murder happened, and naturally, in any whodunit TV show or movie, you naturally want to play detective along with the story. So that's probably everybody going into this film is going to do that, I think, naturally, like, oh, well, who did it? We were actually able to figure it out kind of early on. We were able to deduce. We won't tell you, obviously, this is an unspoiler review. But even though knowing that, it's still sort of by the very end, and that's why I kind of enjoy the script and how it played out, is, well, it could potentially go this way.
Yeah, like your very first instinct is, oh, this is what happened. And that's actually probably what did. But then you're like, oh, wait, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not exactly what's going on.
They really make
that
you
doesn't make sense.
guess.
They wouldn't be able to do this. So maybe it's this. Now, how about that? But it keeps you guessing.
Yes. There's also a couple of little smaller twists that I definitely didn't see coming in the film, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Death on the Nile. And with that, we're going to go ahead and give our rating. Dustin, take it away.
I enjoyed this movie. I thought it did a good job on telling a story where you cared about the characters. Even though you were like, oh, I guessed it, by the end you're like, oh, that's what I thought it was going to be. It still kept you guessing to where you're like, well, maybe it isn't. So it's still a fun watch. Great actors, beautiful actors. I'm going to give it a matinee. I still think it's fun to go into the theaters, have your popcorn, and just watching the mystery play out.
Yes, I actually have. I echo your thoughts, and I have the same rating, which is catch it at matinee. And if you want to check out our movie rating system, it's just listed in the description below. We hope you get a chance to catch Death on the Nile in theaters, and that is it for this non-spoiler review. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.